Welcome back, everyone, to Beholder to No One presents Behold Clearlight. I am your Dungeon Master, Ryan Williams, and joining me here are Nikki,
Marissa Lanner,
Greg,
Gregthos steady hand.
Ashley,
Emmy Frankincense.
and Keith.
Seuss.
All right, are we all ready?
hell yeah.
Yep.
Yup, let's do it.
Good evening, y'all. It's Melira here to tell you what's been happening lately with our band of intrepid adventurers. From what I'm told, just getting back here was a whole ordeal. They say they had to escape from some flesh cult monsters just to make it to the walls, and then folks seem to want to stop them at every point, even inside the city. Had to guess past the guards at the gates, the citizens near the gates, ruffians on the train, and even public fornication. I feel like it's best I don't ask about that one. Here, let's get started so y'all can get caught up on what they told me. So, just like to recap, last time you finally returned from the outside of the city. You made your way past some folks who didn't quite like the idea of you going outside the city and then coming back and bringing all that evil with you. You made your way up into the higher levels of the city and then took a train in which you met some unscrupulous people trying to sell you drugs and promptly murdered one of them and sent the other two running for the hills. You then made your way back to Melira's sort of home base that she's set up for the Mistbreakers, and she invited you into the observation room where she has you all seated and wants to hear what happened out there. So, you see her sitting there in her immaculate white suit. She always dresses in like these white pantsuits. Well, not always white, but you get the idea.
Okay, my kind of woman.
But she has herself seated at the head of the ovular table, and she has just asked you, so, what did y'all see out there? Tell me everything.
So much.
And a second goes by, and she's like, hold on a moment, where are my manners? I'm sure y'all are exhausted after a trip like that. Ain't no need to rush. Simon and a butler standing in another side of the room that none of you noticed standing there before walks forward. She says, let's get these folks some tea. We'll discuss this over lunch. She stands back up and starts leading you through the facility that she has on this floor of the tower. And perhaps whether your characters thought about it before or not, it is still amazing how much property she owns. You know that real estate in this city is incredibly expensive, and she has bought out this entire floor of this tower.
That explains the pantsuits.
It does, certainly. Anyway, she leads you through this place that would normally house multiple families, but she's bought out the whole floor and just combined a whole bunch of different apartments into a single facility. She leads you past a small infirmary where there are, the basics of medical supplies, perhaps not as well stocked as your lab over at the Doctors Guild, but it is certainly passable. You also pass by a small barracks-looking room with bunk beds enough for 10 people. Then you pass by a training room with like a sand pit in it for practicing. It has also got dummies set up along one side of the walls for practicing marksmanship, I suppose. And then she leads you into a kitchen where Simon has already begun preparing some tea for you. And she says, I imagine it was quite harrowing out there, wasn't it?
That's one word for it.
Yeah, let's put it that way.
Dangerous, terrifying, deadly,
And very bloody.
surprising.
Yeah, y'all ain't looking quite nearly as chipper as you were when you left.
Oh, that was from the train ride over.
The train ride over? You had trouble getting back here?
Not really, but there were some people who didn't quite like us being around.
Did you?
No means no. That's all I'm gonna say.
People are surprisingly pissed that we left the city. I mean, we're trying to be helpful and, make this world better, but no one seems to care.
Right. We do certainly have a public relations issue here. Like, I pulled a lot of strings to make this endeavor possible, but there are plenty of folks that think that what we're doing is dangerous. The fact that everyone got back alive will certainly help, but we do need to prove that this mission is useful to the city if we can, because there are certainly those that think we are going to bring whatever corruption and evil lives outside the city back in with us, or with y'all.
That's what the elevator guys said when they almost refused to let us onto the elevator.
Oh, well, that is certainly disheartening. But like I said, as long as we can, find a way to make it seem like we are useful to the city and providing a service, then and I think the minds will start to change. Speaking of which, as she's having this conversation with you, she is leading the way back to the observation room with Simon in tow, with a very expensive-looking tea set, and she sits back at the large ovular table, and you once again have that somewhat haunting and beautiful view of the city down below, as well as the wilds beyond. And she plops herself down, props her feet up on the table, takes a comically small teacup and sips at it, and gestures for all of you to take a seat, grab some tea, and make yourselves comfortable.
Rissa will pour herself some tea.
Same. Gregthos will plop down, attempt to put his feet up, realize that his back is not quite what it used to be, and then sit up straight.
Zeus will definitely partake.
Mm-hmm.
I was say, as soon as we sit down, I'm gonna pretty much bring out like all the books. I'm trying to kind of set it up on the table, like all the books and the miscellaneous, parts of monsters I picked up on the way there, and just kind of set them down on the table to kind of display them to her, to kind of get the conversation started about what we found.
Mm-hmm.
Other than these things, one thing I would like to mention: we were always told that the things beyond this wall weren't intelligent, were just monstrous beings that wanted nothing to do with but eat people. That's not true. I mean, it's partially true. There's all monstrous people, and a lot of them are just terrifying. But they have intelligence. Some of them have intelligence.
Really now, that's very interesting. Now, we certainly have reports of voices coming from out there and creatures trying to seduce people into coming out further into the mist, but it's never been fully understood exactly how intelligent the creatures living out there can be. So that's very interesting.
At least intelligent enough to open the last episode.
It definitely seems like some of them, actually not too far from the entrance here, we ran into a couple of these monsters that actually tried to almost recruit us into their
Cult.
cult or organization.
Recruit is a strong word.
Yeah.
Really, you didn't have to say organization. You could have just said organ, and it would have made sense.
Yeah, there's some sort of
Mishmash of organs.
cult out there that's working against us.
Do you have some paper I can borrow and a pencil? I can try to draw out some of these things we saw.
Absolutely. Simon, could you procure those things for us real quick? Simon quickly bows his head and leaves the room. He always, whenever she's not speaking to him, he just seems to be invisible. Like, you sort of forget that he's around.
That's creepy.
Oh no, after that first scare, I know he's there all the time. Always watching, judging, watching.
The woman sitting at the front desk has now set up a small, a tiny desk in front of her, like off to the side, and is typing stenographer style, keeping the minutes of this meeting. I think stenographer is the right word. I certainly hope so.
Yes, stenographer is correct.
By the way, the stuff that's on the table is the bones of a shadow cat, vial of black ooze, diagram of the machine, vial of mist, and a vial of limb monster blood. I don't know why it says limb. Whatever.
The limb monster.
The monster that was made of limbs.
Yes.
Oh, okay. There we go. So I have all that set up on the table.
Melira, just listening to all of you talk about creatures that seem to be all organs from her perspective, is just like looking at all of you with her eyebrows raised, just not saying anything, sipping at her tea occasionally.
I think they called it the unity of flesh, right?
That sounds correct.
Yeah, I kind of tried to block that out. Thanks for bringing it up.
That sounds utterly upsetting.
Yeah, you have no idea.
Well, so now you were gone for significantly longer than we were expecting you to be gone. That's why we weren't. Unfortunately, we were we were starting to think that you might not come back.
There's this thing called sending stones. You should invest in them. You could just message us, be like, "Yo, you still alive?"
Certainly. Actually, that is definitely a good idea. Simon is already back with the paper, and he's giving it. He slides it in front of you, Emmy. And she tells him, "Write this down. Get us some sending stones. We're gonna need a few sets. Just have enough for everybody."
Rissa will awkwardly reach over and grab the paper placed in front of Emmy because she asked for it and pull
Oh,
it
my
in front
bad.
of herself.
I forgot who was the person.
It adds to the story.
Or
It's fun.
Simon forgot. Anyway,
God damn it, Simon, get good.
You had one job.
Melira asks, "Did something delay y'all out there? What caused you to take so long? The place that I asked you to investigate was maybe like a 4-hour trip, at least what we were predicting."
Could have been the floating skeleton ooze thing, or the gigantic wretch monster that tried to kill us, or it could be the other thing that tried to eat us, the thing that tried to kidnap me, the thing that then tried to eat Zeus, the thing that tried to make us unity of the flesh. Nate, pick your choice. It could have been any of those.
Thank you for so many outs. I was going to blame the fact that I was tired.
There's a lot of fucking monsters. A 4-hour trip is not 4 hours.
Well, all right, then we will have to adjust our expectations accordingly. But
Yeah.
did you manage to make it to that location? It looks like it seems to have stopped. So I was hoping maybe that meant you had arrived and done something about whatever was causing the mist to roil and boil out there. What did you find out there?
Emmy's actually going to point at the diagram that he has on the table and say that this is one of the things that we found there. This is the diagram of the machine that we had run into.
She actually she grabs the paper and pulls it closer to her. And he's like, "That is very interesting. And what is this?"
A siphon of power.
I actually brought it with me, and I was going to take it to my lab to kind of analyze it to see if maybe I can make sense of this with the books I also found, and potentially even uncover enough to be able to use this for our benefit.
For our benefit, okay.
It seems to be some kind of power source.
All right then.
Rissa will list off the multitude of magics that she saw when looking at the power source with detect magic. I don't remember them off the top of my head, but she will.
It was
Specific.
necromancy and conjuration for the most part, oozing
Okay.
out of the thing like a fountain.
That might be a good future episode name, by the way. Multitude of Magics. I like that.
There's this blue light that Emmy discovered was the power siphon, and it was necromantic and conjuration mostly. I dispelled it because that is what was filling up the fog in the room that we were in. And there was a creature tasked with destroying everything inside of that room. I don't know how long it had been there, but
That's unfortunately why we were not able to procure more than we did, because he had already destroyed almost everything in the building before we were able to get any of it. This is all I was able to salvage.
Yeah, it was almost like the mist was controlling him or made him crazy or something like that.
This is very interesting to me. I would like if y'all encounter any more of these things out there, please do find whatever you can about it, and perhaps if it's possible, maybe bring one back.
of the siphon or of the monster trying to destroy us?
Well, the siphon.
Okay, just wanted to clarify.
Although it perhaps could be quite helpful if you were to bring something out there back alive.
You'll need bigger people if you want that.
Right, we'll worry about that a little further down the road. For now, we're just learning as much as we can.
Like I said, I'm gonna analyze a lot of this blood and stuff at the lab to see if I can get anything of use.
Also, I would argue that you are learning, we are experiencing, and it's not super fun for us. It's been quite an experience thus far, and to be completely honest with you, I am rather hesitant at this point to even want to step foot outside the walls again.
Especially when you come back and you're greeted with, how do we know that you're actually who you say you are? You've been doing this for our town, but now we're going to possibly shoot you.
Yeah, that's after what we'd been through outside, that was not a very welcoming response to come back to.
That is very unfortunate. I will do my best. I will talk to some people. I'll pull some strings, make sure that doesn't happen to you again.
Maybe give us like at least a route to come and go that isn't necessarily used by the public often. That way people don't know that we're going out there.
Do we have like an employee's entrance?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Like the secret
back
Disney
door.
entrance.
That is a very good point. I can secure transport across the city for you, for certain. That can be easily done. Simon, he just it seems like your brain realizes that he was standing behind her the whole time, but it's like you sort of just forget he exists.
What does he look like, out of curiosity?
Oh, he looks like a very pale, somewhat elderly human man.
So like you.
That explains why it's so scary every time.
It's got shoulder-length white hair, very pale skin, grayish eyes, and the sort of traditional butler outfit, black and white. And he seems to just appear places. Like you always just seem to forget where he's been whenever he's not directly interacting with you. But he is continuously writing more things down that she will be trying to get for you next time. This is all very helpful. I do want to ensure that your endeavors are supported in any way that I can. Speaking of which, if you are feeling a bit reluctant to head back out there, I do want to remind you that it's not all bad. There is compensation. I've got payment coming your way. And another person comes in through the front door, pushing a cart with 4 wooden chests on it, and the chests are definitely jingling. And he somewhat laboriously pushes them over, and it looks like perhaps he might be playing it up a bit how heavy they are, as he pushes these 4 small wooden chests over to the table and lifts them up onto the table in front of each of you. This is your due compensation for a job well done. You did make it out there, learned quite a bit about the world outside, and returned safely. And so, that is going to be 1,000 gold to each of you.
Nice. Can I roll to see what my drawings look like?
Can you roll to? You can just tell me what your drawings look like.
Well, I mean, if they're good. If they're good.
Sure, go ahead.
They're just stick figures.
Oh, that was awesome.
So now, but see that what this is something that comes up in a lot of D&D games that I see. What role is drawing? Like what stat? What
Could
skill?
be
Performance.
or it could
Yeah.
be
Some people say performance,
Dex.
other people say like dexterity. Some people say it's like a roll with cartographer's tools.
Yeah, I always go with dexterity, and if they have proficiency in drawing, like they're an artist or they have some kind of artist tools, I just let them add their proficiency bonus to it. That's normally what I do.
I mean, I could switch one of my musical instruments that I don't play with artist supplies instead. And
That's
say that she
totally
drew.
fine with me if you'd prefer that. You did
I don't
specifically
play
say
instruments at all.
you're not interested in having your character play an instrument, so if you'd like to swap that out for a tool proficiency or something, that's totally fine with me.
Fantastic. Then I rolled, if it's Dex, I rolled a 23.
You've definitely practiced at life drawing and capturing the anatomy of certain creatures. Mostly, previously, it's been people and whatever animals are being kept, cats, dogs, the occasional farm animal. But it has proved quite useful in showing what these creatures outside the walls look like.
Yeah, I'll draw each creature we've ran into, including the wretch being in, and I'll show each of those drawings.
Did you draw the giant what was the giant spindly leg the thing that picked up the wretch and like we couldn't see the top of it?
I know all you should draw is legs
Yeah.
with like a cloud over it.
Yeah, basically.
It's just a drawing of 2 chicken legs.
Yeah.
I'll point to each of them and explain what happened. I'll be like, well, this one, I asked it really nicely not to eat me, and it worked. I don't know if that'll happen again, but when it talked to me in my head in response, because I messaged it, you know how messaging works, it sounded like 1,000 voices talking to me at once, and it was kind of terrifying.
That does sound very unsettling, yes. Now, I do have a couple of questions about things you might have encountered.
Oh boy, a survey. I love filling these out.
Nothing quite like that, but while you were out there, we saw a red light in the mist, and I'm wondering if that was something y'all saw while you were there. In case you, the players, don't remember.
Yeah,
I
it's like,
know. If you remember that very large creature that was shining a red light down beneath it and
Oh.
disintegrated
Oh, right.
everything below it.
yeah, we saw that.
What was that, y'all out there doing that?
No.
Oh yeah,
It
that was
No.
wasn't
me.
the
No.
general area we expected you to be.
No, that was not us.
It was near us. We saw it, and it was terrifying. It just, that red light was like some sort of energy that came out of it, and anything that was in that light just disintegrated. It was,
Yeah, we made a wide berth of that.
and it was huge.
I would imagine you would have to stay away from something like that. Well, this is all very interesting. Now, I want y'all to have confidence that I am supporting you every step of the way, and that you are in control of your own destinies out here. Yes, I am employing you. Yes, I am paying you, but y'all are the experts. So, I want y'all to be able to decide what your next mission's going to be, when your next mission's going to be. You are perfectly free to do what you wish. And if, Mr. Gregthos, you would prefer not to go back outside the walls, then I fully understand it is a great deal of trouble to go through for curiosity's sake. But I will hold you no ill will if you decide that you want this to be your last mission.
I appreciate that. But upon further review, and I look over at the chest that's sitting in front of me full of gold, I think I can muster. I think I can do this.
All right.
Ching.
That is very good to hear, Mr. Gregthos.
I think the first thing we need to deal with is this unity of flesh, because it was a pretty harrowing experience to try to get back into the city and have these 2 giant creatures. And I just kind of point at the pictures that Rissa drew of Vastican and Malgus. Yeah.
Malgus, yes.
Yeah, and it's like we need to deal with these guys because compared to them, I mean, we didn't fight them, thankfully, but compared to them, everything else was a walk in the park, and I do not want to deal with that again.
Yes, and I believe they're going to be looking for us. So I'm pretty sure next time we go out there, we're going to find them, whether we want to or not.
We have no safe passage to get, I mean, at least not now. Eventually, I'm hoping to study something that can get us to the city in a blink of an eye, but for now, we unfortunately do not have that in our repertoire.
Well, like I said, you will have whatever time you need to prepare yourselves, and if and then she is interrupted actually by another one of her servants approaching her and whispering to her, not very quietly, so that the people sitting closest to her can hear. Excuse me, Mr. Hawk has arrived and wishes to speak with you. Melira stands up and gestures to all of you, saying, "Well, it seems that we've got company, and I imagine that our guest is going to want to talk to all of y'all, because this is actually an associate of mine who helped make all of this possible. So if you'll follow me, we can go meet an old friend of mine.
Out of curiosity, the chairs that we're sitting in, would they happen to have wheels on them?
No, they do not have wheels.
Cool. I am going to be dragging the chair with me then.
No, just
the whole way.
just along, just scraping along the ground. Okay.
I mean, I'm sure Simon could get you a wheelchair if you asked him, if you really need one.
Simon.
Or at
They
least
would
a
definitely
walker.
They would
You're
definitely
a walker.
have crutches at the very least in the infirmary that you passed by earlier.
No, none of those interrupt what other people are doing, so this is more fun for everyone. And by everyone, I mean me.
All right then. So the rest of you walk back towards the front room, the foyer, the reception area, whatever you want to call it. With Gregthos dragging his chair along behind. And the stenographer, Vera, the lady who was sitting up at the front desk earlier, is just like sort of just watching Gregthos slowly slide his chair across the edge of the.
Tell me she's typing out like the onomatopoeia of me dragging the chair.
She's typing something.
I'm imagining it being like you're dragging it, and then you do this little hop thing, like every time you have to go over like a grout or something.
Yeah.
Will you please just stand?
He has to take a break every 5 seconds because his back is killing him.
It's not
He
easy
catches
to go,
breath.
guys.
If anything, that's hurting your back more.
I think I know my body better than you.
Oh god.
Is it too soon to ask for a new person in our party instead?
Melira looks at you and says, "There will be time for that later."
Trust me, I've already considered it.
But you make your way to the front room, and you go into this immaculate, overly decorated foyer and see somebody that some of you might recognize depending on your character's interests. This is Ethan Hawke. The Ethan Hawke.
I was gonna say, how did I know that was his name?
He is one of the most famous actors and bards in all of Clearlight. Known for being a very rich playboy, he is a half-elf, blonde-haired, chiseled jaw, sort of storybook handsome. Looks like Prince Charming from Shrek. And when he's dressed immaculately in very simple, but you can see like occasion. It's like you don't know that this is anything special, but then you see the Gucci logo on it.
Oh god. Is that canon? Is Gucci canon in this campaign now?
It is now.
Damn it.
Emmy has a huge smile on his face, and he's trying so hard not to like freak out. You just kind of see him like twitching a little bit. He's a huge fan.
Oh,
Yes, that guy.
Ethan, long time no see. How are you? How's your family?
Well, hold on just a second. As soon as you walk into the room, he sees Melira come in first, and he says, "Oh, Melira, darling, you are looking just as delectable as ever." And he like walks his way over and takes her by the hand and kisses the back of her hand, and then looks at the rest of you, and you're saying that you've met him.
Well, we're both from the richer part of town, right?
Yeah. You know what? I think it's believable that Rissa might have met Ethan before. And he looks at you and says, I'm sorry. I can't believe that I could possibly have forgotten such a beautiful face. He reaches out to your hand and kisses the back of your hand as well. I'm terribly sorry, but I can't quite remember where we've met before.
Lots of parties. My father was always invited to all the shindigs that you've played at. We snuck out and got drunk once right before the show.
Well, perhaps I might have had a little bit too much. Unfortunately, that does happen quite a bit. Melira rolls her eyes. And he just at that moment, he turns back to Melira just in time so that she hides it from him. And He says, Melira, I didn't know you had this. He looks at the whole group and says, such a motley crew doing this mission for you. I must say, they do look quite. And he looks particularly at Gregthos, still dragging a chair. And now Gregthos now has finally dragged the chair into position and sat back down in it. And
I just immediately raise my hand for him to kiss the back of it.
he pretends he doesn't notice that. And he says,
I'll kiss the back of my own hand then.
he says, they look quite capable. So tell me, I must know how it went. I rushed over here as soon as I heard the news that they had returned alive and safe.
Alive, that's about it. We've returned alive, which was a feat in itself.
Oh, yes, I imagine. It must have been quite terrible out there. It is good to see all of you still kicking. He says, oh, but excuse me, we must catch up. Give me, could you allow the two of us just a moment to catch up? And he looks at the rest of you, sort of like expecting you to leave him and Melira alone. And then Melira says, sure, if y'all actually, we needed to split up for a moment anyway. I'll have Vera talk to you and get your impressions just a few moments more. Vera and the stenographer woman, the one sitting at the front desk, comes back out and says, yes, ma'am, can I get you something? And she says, I'd like you to do the exit interviews, or the not exit interviews, that's not the right word.
We're getting fired.
No! I'm keeping the chair.
Starts scooting it out the door. No, I'd like you to do the interviews with them now, and give me a moment to speak with Mr. Hawk. And he sort of clears his throat and says, so excuse me, it is Lord Hawk now. And she's like, oh, right, of course, how could I forget? Forgive me, Lord Hawk.
Rissa just rolls her eyes.
If you'll excuse Lord Hawk and I, we do have some things to discuss.
I sense some bitterness in her voice.
I go and I grabbed my papers, by the way, before we left the room.
Mm-hmm.
So that he can't see any, like whoever else was coming can't see them without me being there.
Well, Vera, along with the help of Simon and various other servants, actually takes you each one by one to ask you a couple of questions about your mission. I'm gonna roll a die and see who goes first, just for fun. Okay.
I feel like this is a test and I'm gonna fail because my notes are not good enough.
Don't worry. Miss Rissa, I'd like to take you in just a moment and talk to you for a few minutes about your mission.
Sounds great.
Vera leads you into the an office in one of the many rooms on this floor of the tower, and sits down at a very simple desk and indicates for you to sit, and asks you, so I've just been told to ask you a few questions about how your mission went, and specifically, Miss Melira wants an impression of what you think of your teammates, your fellow compatriots out there in the mist.
So which one would you like me to answer first?
Right. Let's see. What do you think of Emmy? How was his performance?
A little flirty, but performance-wise, he was fine. Kept us all alive. Healed a couple of times from death from some of the other people.
Right. Very good. And she starts like scribbling notes in a binder that she's brought with her.
You put me on the spot, Ryan.
Can't wait to hear what she says about me.
That's what dungeon
Yeah,
masters do.
We're all like staring at you like, what are you gonna say?
The D4 has decided. And what about the rest of them? Is there anyone that you feel wasn't pulling their weight out there?
Greg is waving.
Oh, right, audio only. Damn it, I keep forgetting.
Seuss is good. He ran up and did his thing, though he also tended to run away very frequently, though he did almost get eaten by something and mostly kept them off of us. Gregthos, he helps. I think he's fine.
End statement.
He
He helps.
I could be a little irritated, though, because of the chair thing from the last 5 minutes.
Right, I did think that was rather strange, and I'm going to be honest with you. She hired an old Goliath gentleman. I was a bit surprised, but I assumed she knew what she was doing.
He's very...
Really
Old.
He is old, but he's very, surprisingly agile?
At this point, you just hear the chair slowly moving toward the
Nope,
door.
I don't want him off. I don't want him. Nope, I want him gone. The chair is too much. I want him gone. No, I don't say that. No, he's fine. He's fine. He's fucking fine. It's fine. Fine. But please take that chair away from him.
Right, I'll see if Silas can do something about that.
I sense a disturbance.
Right, that's very good. She writes down like a couple more notes about like what you've been saying, and well, that's all I really wanted to ask you. If you could send. Hold on, I'm going to roll a D4 again to see who's next. I hope I don't roll the same number. Okay, could you send Mr. Seuss in here after you return to the rest of the group?
Sure, you're not gonna, tell anybody what I said, right?
Oh, certainly not. This is entirely anonymous. This is just to get an impression of how the people we've got in our employ are doing out there.
Alright, cool. I walk out and go, Seuss, your turn.
I'm curious what the three of you have been doing out here in the office.
At one point, after hearing Gregthos pulling the chair again, Seuss is just going to walk up and pick the chair up and carry it with him.
It's like a Jewish wedding.
Okay, apparently Jewish wedding traditions are now canon in Clearlight.
Oh, there's going to be so many things canon in this campaign. You have no idea.
I'm surprised you could pick him up.
I'm not very heavy. I'm just big.
Up until the point when Rissa comes out, he'll drop the chair down and just follow over.
I am curious if you meant to pick up Gregthos in the chair,
That's what I was
or
curious
just
as well.
the chair out from under him.
I was sitting in it, so.
If I could do it, then yes, I would just pick him and the chair up.
How much do I weigh? Let me check
Go
that
ahead and roll an
quick.
athletics check for me. That's a good question. You do have a
Okay.
+4 to strength, so that is very high. You should be able to lift him, at the very least.
I weigh 290 without my equipment.
Wow, that is a lot. You are a Goliath, I forgot for a moment.
Yes. I'm very tall.
Well, I got a 25.
Well, you are very easily just able to lift Gregthos and the chair and walk around. And then, fortunately, Gregthos, your fun time is interrupted by Rissa returning to retrieve Seuss. Rissa, you emerge to see this spectacle happening.
All right, who's next? Who wants to pick me up?
While this is all happening, Emmy's just trying so hard to look inside the office where they're talking, where Ethan and Melira are talking, because he just really wants to see Ethan. So he keeps trying to find ways to sneak over and try to see what they're doing in there.
All right, you know what? Go ahead and roll a perception check for me.
Actually, my perception's pretty good, so. Oh, never mind. I got a natural 1, so that's a 6. So I'm not.
Emmy, you sort of follow them as stealthily as you can towards the office that they retreat to, which appears to be larger than the rest of them. This one has a double door. You assume this must be Melira's office. And you try to put your ear up against the door to listen in on their conversation, and then just at that moment, Simon appears behind you. It says, "Excuse me, sir. I was told to ensure that you are cared for at all times. Is there something I can get for you?"
And it's just I look really nervous, oh no, I think I got lost to the bathroom, and then I just kind of walk back to where I went to.
Very well, sir.
He would like a side of Ethan Hawke.
Yeah. And I just kind of sit down and I kind of sigh and I'm just Oh, Ethan.
But Seuss, you sit yourself down in front of the office. In fact, this is familiar. This is where you had the interview for getting this position in the first place, Seuss, with the same person. And Vera says, Mr. Seuss, I just wanted to make sure we got your impressions of the rest of the group that went outside the walls with you. If I just wanted to know if there were any concerns you had about the rest of the group, or any particular things that you wanted to mention about this little band of adventurers we've created here.
I think my party performed their jobs efficiently, and that's all he's gonna say.
She pauses for an extra second, hoping you'll say more, and then when you don't, she sort of clears her throat and writes down efficiently on her notes. And well, if that's going to be all for you, then thank you very much, Mr. Seuss. If you could, when you go back outside, could you send our friend Emmy back in here?
Very well. Thank you for your time.
It's like our work
Yeah.
qualifications meets expectations.
Got M's all the way down.
Yeah, all M's. No O's.
And you'll stand up and do a little short bow kind of thing. You leave the room and just call out Emmy's name.
Emmy has just now sat back down in the chair and is looking somewhat despondent for some reason.
And I just get up and walk into the room. Still kind of sad looking.
Gregthos will look expectantly at Seuss.
Once again.
Fine. He'll try and
Yay!
While that's happening, Emmy, you have gotten back to the office where you see Vera sitting behind the desk. And she, just like everyone else, just was for you to sit and asks, all right, Mr. Emmy, I was just instructed by benefactor Melira to get your impressions of the rest of the group to see how you think this is all going and what you think of the rest of your party members.
I mean, I enjoy everyone's company, that's for sure. I wouldn't have asked for a better party. Gregthos is very fun, and he keeps the comic relief, so it makes things a little bit, less scary out there. Rissa, absolutely gorgeous, so just her presence makes everything beautiful. And Seuss is pretty tough and definitely holds his weight, so I would say everything's going really well.
That is very good to hear. Thank you answering so thoroughly. As you know, Mr. Seuss is a bit, what's the word? He doesn't have many words to share about anything, it seems, but thank you very much. Now, this is something else I wanted to ask you. Is there anything that you feel we are missing out there? Is there something you feel anything else you feel like you need?
Melira earlier, we do need to figure out a way to get us safely back to the city before we get killed again.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your honesty. If you could just send Mr. Gregthos in here after you've returned to the foyer, and I will be making sure that Melira hears everything that you shared with me today.
Will do. I'm going to walk out. Gregthos, get out of that chair. It's your turn.
Get out of the chair?
Don't bring the chair with you.
Why? Wait, is there a better chair in there?
Oh yeah, it's a way better chair. So much more fluffy.
Insight check.
I don't know what the chair actually looks like.
Actually, I was about to say, honestly, the chair in the office is more comfortable than the one out here.
Okay, so I'm kind of telling the truth.
Well, if it matters, I did just roll a natural 20 on my insight check, so...
Emmy, he seems to be being honest with you.
Yep.
Alright, fine. Seuss! Please, lower me.
You will lower the chair levator.
Chair elevator, okay. That is now your nickname. I will...
The ladies call me the chair elevator.
Why?
Don't ask questions. You enjoyed it, didn't you?
It's not something we talk about.
Yeah, so I'll get off the chair, I'll turn around, look at Seuss, and just go,
Thank you!
and I'll toss him a gold coin.
You grab it.
and then I will make my way into the place, into the office, and sit down in the chair. Just kind of like squish it down a little bit, try to move it around just to see how it is. And
This one is leather and cushioned as opposed to the wooden one that you were sitting on out there. So it is significantly more comfortable than the one that you were sitting on before.
does this one have wheels?
It does not have wheels.
Damn it!
Well, Emmy wasn't lying, so I guess that's good.
Vera's asked. I'm sorry. What? Emmy was lying about something?
No, he wasn't. The chair in here is much more comfortable than the previous one.
Right. Gotcha. Makes perfect sense.
Does it really?
I'm going to be honest with you, sir. I'm utterly confused by just about everything you do. So, but I do have a couple of questions for you that Melira wanted to know. She wanted to get your impressions of the rest of your group. See, how do you think things are going out there?
Well, I mean, we're all still alive, so that's a plus.
Certainly.
Yeah, I mean, everybody did what they had to do. Emmy does his job very well, keeps us all up. Seuss is Seuss. Like, what can you really say about him? Not much of a talker, and just kind of direct and to the point.
Right.
Rissa, I mean, I like her, but I mean, we have our differences. She seems to like to take credit for my ideas, but you know.
Hold on. I feel like this is not about Rissa.
No, that happened.
Okay.
But I mean, all in all, it's a pretty, as it was stated earlier, a rather motley crew, we'll say. But we seem to mesh pretty well. And I'm dropping my character voice in between sentences, and that's fine.
That's perfectly fine. It's understandable, sir. But thank you very much. I will make sure that Melira gets to know all the information you shared with us today. Please do feel free to let me know if you need anything, and I will be making sure to record all of this for future reference.
No, thank you.
Right. She sort of like awkwardly is like, thank you. And it says, she stands up and sort of walks over to the room. She walks over to the room that you're currently standing in. Yes.
I was yelling at her from across the way.
She walks over to the door, opens it, and gestures for you to follow her out.
Okay. Will do. Dragging the chair in tow.
She sort of like watches you do this, and you can see on her face she like doesn't know what to do about this. It's like, Mr. Gregthos, I don't think I can let you take this chair out of here.
Oh, come on, you've got plenty.
Go ahead.
Carissa's just like looking from the other room, going like, "See,
You're just jealous of my chair."
See."
Gregthos, make a persuasion check.
Oh boy. Hopefully that
Just
natural 20 happens again.
Can it be at disadvantage since I'm like, see?
Oh, that's a 3.
I'm sorry, sir. I cannot let you take this chair out of here.
Seuss would just be like, no, put it back.
It ties the whole room together, don't you see?
All right, you know what? You make a good point. It does pretty much tight. Yeah. Okay, fine.
There are chairs in just about every room of this house, so I'm sure wherever you go, you'll find adequate seating, sir. She's like, you can see on her face, she's like struggling to remain formal. It's like starting to sweat.
Seuss will be presenting the chair that we've been using. Just motioning him to get into it.
I turned that chair invisible.
You turn the chair invisible?
Can you do that? Can you cast invisibility on objects?
I think so. I don't know. I want to.
All right, I will stand up from the current chair and very, very slowly
No.
make my way over to the
It's a
the
creature.
aforementioned chair. Sit down.
All right, and when you return, actually, Ethan and Melira have also returned from their meeting that they've been having. So the gang is all back together, and Ethan still standing up, sort of just studying the rest of the group, and he says, "Well, I do just think that your whole endeavor that you're accomplishing out here is absolutely fascinating, and I would love to just be informed of everything that happened out there. Tell me, do you feel like this is something that you will be continuing to do? Is this a fool's errand, or is this worth pursuing?"
Oh, that depends
And
entirely on you
entirely on me?
and what resources you can provide us with.
Oh, well, I mean, I was just recently granted the title of Lord for my acting talents that I've been entertaining the people with for many years now. I assure you, I have quite a bit of, let's say, monetary backing behind me, but what I want to know is whether you think all of this is possible, whether you think this is a worthy pursuit.
I think it's definitely a worthy pursuit to help make the city safer, but it is not going to be something that's done quickly, as it's a large, crazy world out there.
I can only imagine. Well,
I think for me, it depends on what you're using the information for. If you're just collecting it to be in a file and do nothing with, then it's a waste of everybody's time and our safety. But if you're actually taking this information and using it to make it safer or improve magic or improve our life in the city, then of course it's worthy.
well, that is very good to know, my dear. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have quite a busy day ahead of me. So, Melira, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and to the rest of you as well. I will take my leave now. And he sort of dramatically does a heel turn and walks out through the front door. And as soon as he's gone, Melira is just like visibly like deflates a little bit, like relaxes her muscles. Oh God. And she says, "Forgive me for the interruption, y'all. It's he is somebody that I have a bit of history with, and he decided to help me make all of this possible. He's got a lot of weight behind his words, even if he doesn't have a lot of weight behind in between his ears, if you know what I mean.
Huh!
Still, he has been quite helpful."
Hey, he seems like a lot.
He's so cool.
Cool is not the word I would use, but he is definitely something.
I don't quite understand what he gets out of this. I mean, he's an actor, not a politician or anything like that. So I don't see why he's funding this.
He gets clout if we succeed. That's what he gets.
So much clout.
That certainly is possible. You know, he's always trying to connect his name to just about anything he can worm his way into, but like I said, he has been helpful. It's quite possible I wouldn't have been able to do this without him, or at the very least, I would have been delayed significantly. So, did you manage to get all your solo interviews done while I was away?
Yes.
Yes.
Vera waves the little binder that she has and says, "Yes, ma'am. I was able to talk to all of them individually, and I will have the report to you later." Very good. Now, let me see. Was there anything else I wanted to discuss with you before I send y'all on your way? Oh, right. Of course. She walks back over to the table and looks at all the things that Emmy dumped onto the table in front of his seat, which is now vacant. I wanted to know if you had recovered anything of note, and I can see you've got quite the pile of, I guess, bric-a-brac. I'm not really sure what all this is. Tell me, what is this stuff?
Well, Most of it is just little bits and pieces that I was able to recover off of the monsters that we had fought. I'm hoping to study the blood and the bones to maybe get a better idea of what kind of things we're facing. And then like I said, I have this diagram, which I'm hoping to study, get some more information. And then I pull out the little book that I got from there too. And I'm hoping that this book, if I, further delve into it, can give us some more information. Unfortunately, like I said, I wasn't able to get everything that I wanted because a lot of it was destroyed. A lot of the books were destroyed from the mist. So I'm hoping I can get whatever possible information from this as I can.
All right, that's very reassuring. Now, I do have some researchers on my side, so to speak. If you'd like, I can have somebody take a look at one of these books that you brought back with you, or anything else that you found outside. Now, of course, I want to make it clear, anything you find outside that you think would be helpful in your future endeavors, like, I don't know, magical weaponry or supplies that you think that might be useful out there, absolutely feel free to keep that. But I would like any sort of knowledge that you find out there to be able to study it for myself, if that's possible.
Fine. He'll hand over the diagram and the books, but he's gonna keep the monster parts because he wants to actually study those himself. Because he has the stuff in his lab that will help a lot with that.
Fair enough. Now, I believe that's all I require from you at this particular moment. I'm sure we could stay here and talk about all the terrible things you saw outside all day if we wanted to, but, well, this is a job that we're doing to help improve the state of the city, so, always new things to do and whatnot. So, I do have lodgings here if you would like, or if you would prefer to go back to your own homes, that is perfectly acceptable as well. It's up to y'all.
I would like to go back to my lab.
Of course. But before you leave, I do actually want to ask you about your next mission. Like I said, you are perfectly free to do it at any time you like. Take the time that you need, downtime, whatever you need to do. Uh, but I would like to know what you plan for your next mission to be. And she points at all the spyglasses along the wall that point out the floor-to-ceiling windows that give you a view outside the city. And she sort of puts the books back down on the table and walks over and sort of looks out into the distance. And you can still see the mist curling and roiling outside the city, constantly seeming to be trying to claw its way over the walls, but being unsuccessful because of the bright lights at the edges of the city. And she says, "Now, we did discuss before there are a couple of landmarks that seem at least interesting to me, but I want to know what y'all think y'all would like to investigate next."
I think the tree that was mentioned previously was what intrigued most of us.
Right. You can see outside the city, like, the massive tree looming over even the mist itself and just sort of dominating sort of the landscape around it with its presence. And that is to the northeast of the city, I believe. Yes, northeast of the city. And the other options, of course, were the strange either hill or dome that appears to be in the mist to the southeast of the city. And then due south, there is, you can actually see it happening right now. You will see the occasional flash of light or booming noise coming from that area where it is theorized that there is a battle still happening outside the city.
Let's save that battle one for a higher level.
Exactly.
Are these I guess telescopes or whatever,
Spyglass.
spyglasses? Like how far can they see?
You can see pretty far. The mist does make it difficult to see like details on the ground level, but it doesn't like rise up particularly high. That's why being in this tower allows you to see so far. So you can see just about to the horizon.
Could I like use it to see if I can maybe spot I think it was it Vastican that could fly? Or
Vastican was more moonwalking almost.
oh,
He wasn't flying, but he seemed to be less affected by gravity than everyone else.
yeah.
He had an unnatural grace about him.
Yeah, I wanted to see if maybe I could spot it, or maybe just like even Malgus, because he was pretty big too. But I'm trying to see if I can just see if they're out there somewhere, just to know maybe their general location at the time, so that we can kind of avoid that area. I mean, there's no to guarantee they're going to still be there when we go out, but I kind of just want to keep tabs on them.
Okay. So you put your eye up to the spyglass and try to take a look through the mist. It is very difficult to see anything at the ground level.
Well, if we're not doing anything else with Melira, I would like to spend the rest of the day studying all my stuff, but after that I want to go to bed.
Right. Well, now that you are free, you have the whole city available to you. There, from all the way down to the bottom, the Undercity, with the places specifically designed for those with dark vision, up to the rusted hulks of buildings near the ground level, and leading all the way up to the glittering majesty of the towers above. You have the whole city available to you, just about. Of course, there are certain places you might not want to go to, but you are free to prepare for your next mission, do whatever you need to do. Melira can connect you to the proper people to get more things, that whatever you think you need for your next mission. You do know that your next mission is probably going to be longer than the first one. The first one, like I said, like she mentioned, was only supposed to be a few hours there and back, not even a full day. Ended up being that, but the next one will probably be significantly longer to get out to that gigantic tree in the distance.
So they say 12 hours, so it'll really be 12 days. Great, got it.
It's certainly possible.
Me dragging the chair the whole way. Yeah, probably.
Yes.
I'm really debating just trying to make you a chair with wheels, just so you could have that.
Can you do that? That
There
would be
are
amazing.
wheelchairs in
Yeah,
the city.
No,
I'm
no, no,
sure-
no, 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 no. I don't
You
want
could
that.
you have 1,000 gold that you could buy a wheelchair for you if you wanted, or any chair with wheels. There are chairs with wheels.
I'm in the Doctors Guild, so I'm sure I could procure your wheelchair somewhere.
Can we just put wheels on this chair?
I burn the chair.
You will have to fight me for this chair.
I mean, I could probably get you a lot more comfortable one that's actually like a therapeutic.
One of the other servants is actually standing nearby and just like looking at the whole group of you standing around the table discussing your next moves, and sort of watching Gregthos latch onto this chair, and is like, I mean, I suppose y'all can take this chair if you want it, but I mean, I
Encourage him.
will say I will say there are probably other better chairs out there in the city, and also, sir, I'm just confused. You know what? Never mind. Just ignore me.
It's fine. I have that effect on people.
Does anybody have greater restoration? Maybe that'll cure him of his idiocracy.
You can certainly try.
I don't have it, so I can't do it.
As Ron White says, you can't fix stupid.
You certainly cannot.
When are we meeting back here?
That is entirely up to you guys.
I was gonna say, like, I think we can just kind of, like, leave each other to our own devices for the remainder of the day and the evening, and then meet up back, say, tomorrow. Or if you guys need more time than that, we can try to, pad time with something.
And Emmy's gonna welcome anybody that doesn't have a place to stay if they want to come to the lab with him. Plenty of room there.
It is also important to note, Emmy, you do have a home that you could sleep in.
No, I don't.
But
Yeah, the lab.
I have-
He just said that.
I have this little tiny room above my lab that I sleep. It doesn't even have a bed. It's just I mean, because I don't really sleep, but I never
Alright.
leave. My parents let me stay at their house all the time, but I never go there.
Brissa will just say, "Okay, I'll see y'all later, I guess. Message me if you need me. Peace," and then I leave.
Peace. I am very curious as to what Seuss is going to do. She did say that she had, you saw there are bunks here if you wish to stay, or if you want to return to wherever it is that you live, Seuss.
Yeah, Seuss is probably going to head back to the lower levels. And probably do a little bit of shopping and just kind of recompose himself.
It certainly has been an exhausting day that you had previously, so you definitely could use a little bit of rest after all of that. But yeah, you guys are free to do whatever it is you like. You have access to blacksmiths all around the city. There are enchanters, alchemists. There are vacuum salesmen. There are no, there aren't actually vacuums, I don't think. Well, you know what? A vacuum seems like the kind of thing that would definitely exist in Clearlight, but it would probably be like a luxury item.
I mean, it's Hoover.
Created by Dr. Hoover himself, the wizard.
The wizard, Dr. Hoover.
I heard he sucks.
Wow.
I think we can just cut the episode there, right? Like,
yeah,
it's all downhill from this point.
We can't do any better. We might as well just stop the podcast. But yeah, Melira would be happy to introduce you to anyone that you would need to get ready for your next mission. She, like she has made clear very much before, has connections just about everywhere. She had to pull a lot of favors to get this done, so she can't just like now snap her fingers and get everything for you, because she already had to pull a lot of favors to get this whole mission started. But she does know all the right people, just about.
Yeah, I mean, mostly just what we need is just the sending stones, because we definitely need to keep in contact with them in case, like, again, if something goes wrong. I mean, it's kind of silly for us.
Yeah, she had that. She said she would have that ready for you your next mission.
It was kind of silly of us to even go out in the first place without any kind of communication, but it was our first mission. We learned from our mistakes.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I would assume that we'd all kind of restock on supplies, especially if we're going to be gone for a while. We're going to need food and water and
Potions.
Yeah. I mean, we just got 1,000 gold, so we should probably stock up on certain items.
For sure. So I imagine you will at the very least want to visit the local alchemist to get stock up on any kind of potions that you need. Unless you want to, Emmy, you want to try to steal some from the the Doctors Guild.
I'd probably encourage everyone to buy their potions from the Doctors Guild so we could get some funding, but instead of going to the local alchemist.
Which is closer, the alchemist or the Doctors Guild place?
Probably there will probably be an alchemist closer, but Emmy does know these people, so perhaps he might be able to, get a discount or something, or at the very least ensure that the money is going towards, a cause that Emmy cares about.
Fair.
Of course, Emmy does not make it a point to get to know all the people in the guild. So maybe not.
I think they forget that he exists sometimes. The only time they really know he's there is when like he has like he turns in one of his like research papers or something. They're like, oh yeah, you.
But you are going to have some very interesting information very soon, given that you have all these things that you want to study and get to the rest of the group. Make public knowledge.
Yeah, as soon as I get back to my lab, I'm just gonna pretty much pull out like every possible thing that I have, and then just start like analyzing all this stuff as much as I possibly can in the day. Probably not much, because I'm sure it'll take hours just to analyze a lot of this foreign matter, but especially if it's something we've never seen before.
Okay. Well, So Emmy is definitely going to be studying the things that he recovered from outside the city. Rissa, you still have that wand that you found outside, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't remember? Oh,
Yeah.
I think you were the one that had it.
I do.
Okay. It would be relatively easy for you to discover what exactly that does, because in the beginning you couldn't quite tell what it was meant for. That is a spell storing wand. So what it does is that you can cast any spell that you have access to into the wand, and then that can be used to later cast that spell, basically. So you can give
Interesting.
anyone access to any of your spells, basically, throughout the day.
Or that, or if it's like a free spell slot, right? Because if you already prepared it like the day before or something, you could have pretty much a free spell. Is that how it works? Yeah.
Yep, and it lasts 24 hours. So
Damn.
if you were
Cool.
now, it does have a limit to how much it can hold in it, though. So you cannot cast every spell you know into it the day before you go out on a mission, and then have like double the spell slots.
Yeah, but it would be really useful, like if we're about to go to sleep and you still have some spell slots, just like store something real quick before you go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a limit on what level I can cast into it, or any spell I can cast?
I'm gonna say that it's gonna be limited to second level spells and below, and it can hold 3 spells.
Okay.
Damn, Hero was hoping we hit 20 with that wand to just hold a wish spell.
But it can
And
be
it
very
lasts for
useful,
24 hours.
and you can be very useful for just giving other people access to spells that they normally wouldn't have. So if you could like cast a healing spell into it and give it to Seuss, and then Seuss can cast a healing spell on himself.
That's
And
kind of cool.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sorry.
All right, I'm gonna cast. I'm gonna do that then, actually, because I have some spells left before I'm on rest. So I'm gonna cast Shatter into it, and then 2 Cure Wounds level 1.
all right.
Can other people put spells in it, or is it just her?
No, anyone using it can do it. Yes.
I'm gonna say sometimes I could put some stuff in there too for you.
Yeah, it would allow you to give other people access to spells that they normally wouldn't have.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how
Which
cool
is
would it
cool.
be to have your own spiritual weapon?
That's true. That would be cool.
I want my own spiritual weapon. It'll be a chair.
Oh God. The saga of the chair has begun.
Oh, it's happening.
Please don't.
What is with chairs in D&D? I swear to God. This is the 3rd thing I've heard of a chair being in a campaign.
It's Greg. That's why.
Hey, this is the first time for me it's a chair. Before it was a bucket, now it's a chair.
I do want to find a not an alchemist, someone that knows magic items.
Okay. There would certainly be a variety of people that have access to that. There are specific enchanters whose job it is to like take things that you bring them and infuse them with magical power. But then just about a lot of different people will have like low level magic. There are people who whose job it is to specifically go out and like use magical items and things, and there's people who sell minor magical items. The city has access. A lot of people have access to low level magic. So
I want to sell the Ancient Wizard spellbook.
Okay then. That can certainly get you a pretty penny in the right circles.
That's why I'm trying to find that right circle.
Would have access to the right circles. So you know what? How about you roll me? Let's see. Roll a persuasion check for me, just to see how well you are able to locate the correct people and then convince them that it is of great value. And that will determine how much. You got a 24?
Yeah.
So you got a 24. That is quite a bit. So you are able to find a small, very small guild of people who are very interested in the history of magic, and especially the magic that the ancients had access to. And they are particularly interested in this ancient spellbook that you found. Now, the spellbook itself is not like an amazing wizard, like one of the most powerful wizards that ever existed at the time. But because I mean you did find it in a wizard school, so somebody who's like learning.
He's no Dr. Hoover.
Definitely no Dr. Hoover. It's that kind of thing only comes around once a generation.
Of course.
But they are very interested in the way that they formulate their magical sigils back then, and what materials they would use for their spell casting at that time. So they are very interested in that spell book. So I would say that with your high persuasion roll, you are able to convince them to buy it off of you for 400 gold.
Cool.
And they have to pool a lot. Like, this is not a high-level rich guild. This is like a group of hobbyists, basically. So they're like pooling a bunch of their savings to be able to buy this off of you.
If I find anything else, I will keep you guys definitely in mind to save your coin.
Oh, please,
Just in case.
please do, madam. Anything else you find like this? This is an absolutely beautiful relic. Thank you very much.
And I will add 400 gold to myself.
That was a good French accent, by the way, Ryan. That was good.
Thank you very much. I practice it. I had a character in a previous game that it was difficult in the beginning, but I had a little bit of time with it. It's fun, but after a long time, it also gets tiring.
Yeah.
I also would like to find someone selling magic items because I want a cloak of protection.
A cloak of protection. All right. Well, you would know that kind of thing is that would fetch a rather high price, but it can certainly be found. There are various security forces all around the city. A couple of what's it called? The Vigil, the city's guard, doesn't really sell a lot of their own supplies, but a lot of their stuff seems to somehow find its way into the hands of the private bodyguards and security forces and gangs in the areas around. So there are certainly people you can buy those kinds of things from. Now, I don't actually 100% know what like a cloak of protection would be. Like, you're looking to increase your AC?
Yes, it's an uncommon magic item that gives me +1 to AC.
All right. That can certainly be found.
And yeah, +1 bonus to AC and saving throws while you wear the cloak. Basically, I want to not be as squishy.
Right.
That is my goal. I think that's the best thing I could get at common or uncommon.
Right. Hold on. I have a thing for this. Give me just a moment. I have a document that I saved that was like somebody decided to make sane prices for all the magic items because some of the recommendations in the book are absolutely ridiculous. Like, for some reason, a potion of flying is like more expensive than a magic broom that allows you to fly all the time.
That does seem a little strange.
Yeah, it was an example of some of the weird stuff that happens in the recommendations for magic items in the book. Is it perhaps? This might be the exact one I usually use.
It's actually just called Sane Magical Prices.
Yep.
That was one thing I didn't like about 5e. Like, I like the idea that you could make
Yep,
your
this
own
is
prices,
literally-
but
Yeah, I don't like that either. This is my least favorite part.
yeah, I like having set prices so that I can, kind of, we can barter, but at least I would know exactly what the
Right.
threshold would be.
But then I have trouble like figuring out how much gold to give out for things. Anyway,
yeah.
let me try to find it in here.
It's 3,500. I don't have enough for it.
Well, that is a lot.
Yeah. Magic items are very expensive.
Yeah, that is well, because it would have to be sort of purchased somewhat illegally, it is difficult to find one for a reasonable price. You think that you might have to save up a little bit to be able to get that kind of thing.
I don't know why I don't have this, but I definitely want to pick up an herbalism kit from the guild. I don't know why I don't have this. I should have this as a doctor, but I definitely want to pick up one of those. That's
All right.
only
that
like
is
5.
easy to find.
Yeah, that's only like 5 gold pieces. But I was like, I want to be able to make my own potions of healing, so I just was like, why don't I have this?
Mm-hmm.
I said I got to just buy healing potions if I can't afford that.
All right, that is something that can be done. There are certainly places that sell that kind of thing. So, Gregthos, I haven't heard anything from you. Is there anything in particular you're wanting to do? Are you gonna return to talk to your master and tell him what you saw outside, or anything in particular you would like to purchase? Perhaps a chair with wheels, or
Yeah, because
Steal Melira's.
that's not nearly as much fun as this one.
Or you're gonna steal Melira's chair and commission someone to add wheels to it.
Probably the latter, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, like, Rissa, I would also like to purchase some healing potions, because you always need those.
Certainly.
And out of curiosity, how... Because we're up in a tower, like, with Melira.
Yes.
What's the best way to get out? Like, is there... I mean, I assume the train would be the way to go, yeah? Or...
To get out, you mean of the city?
No, out of the like, down from the tower onto the main thoroughfare.
At the center of each, there's lots of high towers just like this one, and at the center of just about all of them is a series of elevators.
Oh, good, elevators, okay.
Right, yeah, there are elevators going up and down all of the towers, all the way from the highest of the high, all the way down to the undercity below. And I mean, of course, you might have to take multiple trips. Like, you can't take one elevator all the way from the top to the bottom.
Right.
But yeah, there are elevators in all of the towers, and then there are sky bridges connecting many of these towers. And then, of course, there are the trains that exist on top of that have their own sort of sky bridges going from place to place. And there are entire like sections of the city that are just built on top of metal plates that exist, where like sections of the city are built on top of other sections of the city. So there are portions of this place that are above ground but still completely dark, except for the lights that the people can provide for themselves, because there's extra city built on top of them.
Gotcha. I was just making sure, because I was not looking forward to try to drag this chair down a flight of stairs.
Oh, no.
And then just like, I just have this vision of me like tripping and then falling for like 3.5 hours down this giant fucking tower.
Oh, no. Just rolling down the stairs for just a year straight.
But yeah,
Liquid bones by the end.
I mean, it's not far from that now, so.
But yeah, so yeah, I'll attempt to purchase some healing potions, some rations, what have you, stuff, just supplies that we need for our next venture. And then I would like to, I would probably go to see my my master before we head out again.
All right. Well, you know where he usually hangs out, for sure. And it's actually on one of like the Garden Town towers that has an outdoor. It's got it's like sort of like hanging gardens on the outside of some of the towers in this section of the city. And it does take you a few hours to get there, like, train rides and just lots of walking. But fortunately, you don't run into any more trouble along the way. And you are able to find him sitting in his favorite chair in one of the gardens, hanging just high enough to see over the wall of the city, sort of staring up at the sky.
How does his chair compare to mine?
His is more like a hammock.
Oh, fancy.
Suspended by a couple of pieces of wood. It's definitely one of those, it looks like one of those outdoor beach chairs.
Oh, nice.
I'll say that on the way, on the train ride, or, in one of the many, many elevators I imagine that I would have had to have taken to get here.
Yes.
I would have taken some time while sitting in my new favorite chair to druid craft a couple things into it.
Into the chair?
Yes.
Okay.
So on most of the body of the chair, both of the armrest, and I'm going to drop character voice because I'm not speaking as my character, and I keep dropping it anyway. So on the armrest and the back of it, I have druid crafted what is basically a almost not an exact copy, but very similar to the tattoos I have on my body. So the like a star map type thing, and then across the top of the back of the chair, facing me, I just druid crafted Gucci.
Okay.
Because now it's fancy.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
The epitome of luxury.
Oh, and then on the underside of both of the arms, I also put Versace. So it's double the fanciness.
Ah, yes. Yes, of course. You know, it's the first collaboration between these two opposing families. That's why it is so very well prized amongst the fashion industry.
The chair
All
fashion
right.
industry.
Yes, chair fashion. Definitely new canon industry that exists in Clearlight for sure.
Yes, indeed.
Anyway, you come upon you come upon your master in the process of meditating, just staring straight up at the sky, sort of eyes blank, not sleeping, but not really aware of what's going on around him. And as you approach, I can't believe I never asked you this question, but what kind of person is your master? I want to know, like, what kind of relationship you have.
I mean, he's
You imagine.
he basically took me under his wing after my sister died. He kind of my family didn't take the death very well, so they shunned me for a little bit afterwards. And he kind of took me in to take care of me and teach me different things about life in the city, as well as meditation and stuff like that. So he's not exactly, I wouldn't say he's like a father figure exactly, but it's very close to that. Like I look up to him.
All right. Also a Goliath? Question mark?
No, he's a human.
Okay, cool. And as you come into the room, he sort of, without moving or even really looking in your direction, sort of comes out of his trance-like state and says, "Ah, Gregthos, you've returned. Welcome back. I knew that eventually I would see you again. Tell me, I would like to know if you found anything that you think would be..." He has this very slow way of speaking. If you found anything outside that would bring us closer to knowledge of the stars.
Well, first I want to say I hope I didn't interrupt your meditation with my new fancy chair.
Immediately calling attention to... Have you been dragging it this whole way, by the way?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. You've definitely caught some looks from the city guard, as well as just random people walking around the streets.
They're all jealous. It's fine. I get it. Not everybody has a Gucci Versace chair.
Very few people, I think. But he takes a look at it, and it's like, ah, yes, very impressive. This is a beautiful piece you've made here. Oh, he just like assumes that you made this entire chair like yourself.
Thanks. I mean, I didn't make it, but I mean, the little etchings and all that was me. So.
Ah, well, it is a fine piece. I wonder why you felt the need to bring it here.
You know,
to have chairs.
To be completely honest with you, I'm not even 100% sure why I did this. It just it clicked and it happened and now it's here.
Gotta stick with the bit.
Yes. Well, I believe one
commit.
should always live in their own truth, and so if something in your mind told you that you needed to bring this here, then it must be all a part of the plan of the universe.
I thank you for giving me reason. Because truly, I had none.
You look up in the sky and see a constellation that's shaped like a chair. It's fate.
The sky opens up, but he sits back down in his own chair and looks at you expectantly.
I mean, to be completely honest with you, we, my group and I, we did learn quite a bit about the world outside the city, and gotta say, it's not great. It's pretty horrifying, if I'm being completely honest with you.
Ah, yes, we knew it would be a treacherous place outside, but
Indeed.
hopefully it is worth it.
I mean, that remains to be seen. We're apparently going to be heading back out there relatively soon to go on another mission.
Well, may the stars guide you, my child.
And also with you. But yeah, how has things been around here since I've been gone?
Actually, surprisingly enough, I have seen good omens in the sky. In fact, it is quite unusual to get a glimpse of the actual starlight in this city, given the constant overcast and the bright glittering lights from all around us. And yet, I was given a sign, a good sign, I think. Good things are coming your way, our way, all of us, I mean. But I will still have to meditate on this for some time. I am hopeful for your endeavor. I think that this will lead to great things. And so that is why I am so glad that you have decided to go on this mission.
I mean, there was a bit of trepidation at first, to be sure.
Oh, of course.
But
It is.
any. Sorry, go ahead.
This actually happens a lot with him because he has so many pauses in the way he speaks. You think he's done talking, and then he says, "It is quite dangerous out there, and I pray that you will be safe. But I think that it is important that you do this. I will be watching the stars for guidance."
As will I. And I thank you for, I mean, everything really, but for the profession of a good omen.
Yes, and I will meditate on it some more. I think perhaps it could tell us. You can see here. I will show you. And he actually has drawn on a piece of paper that he has with him. He always has like various like star maps drawn all around him in his favorite spot. He's always like drawing constellations, making connections between the stars. Like it's always the same stars, but he sort of follows his own inspiration that he finds and connects them in new ways to interpret like good omens, bad omens, and wisdom that he believes that comes from the sky itself.
I envision it just popped into my head since you said that he like connects everything. I'm just envisioning like I look up and it's with his little hammock chair, and it's just like that scene from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where Charlie's trying to explain shit. And there's like the posters on the walls with the strings between them.
A little bit like that, yes. There's just a bunch of scattered papers, all with different things drawn on them. Very similar star maps, but like I said, he's connecting them in new and interesting ways all the time and trying to interpret what they could all mean. And he shows you something new that he's drawn that has there's sort of like a language to the ways that the stars can be connected, and it isn't 100% like codified, but there are certainly like patterns that can show up that can show that good things are coming or bad things are coming. And this one is something entirely new that you've never seen him draw before, and it has elements of like symbols that are used for good fortune coming the way, but it also has things that are entirely new, like it's like the symbols that you would see for good fortune overlaid on top of a symbol for the passage of time and the study of history.
Well, this is certainly new. I don't recognize any of these star groupings at all.
Right. That is why I think that this is very important. Something new is coming. At the very least, what you're doing out there is fascinating. And I think this is all connected to you. But forgive me my old man's ramblings. Tell me, what did you see out there? And I imagine you would probably want to tell him a couple of things, or maybe not. Maybe you'd rather not worry him with all the details. That's up to you.
No, I would just kind of sit with him and explain basically the entirety of the first. I think it was a day that we were out there.
Yeah, you were out there for about like a day and a half.
Okay, so yeah, I would sit down with him and just explain basically word for word like what what transpired outside the city walls.
And he listens very patiently the whole time, never interrupting, and just lets you complete your own. This is sort of like the way he likes to talk to you. Like, he will let you just keep talking and talking and talking until you come to your own conclusions. So he does not interrupt. He barely even asks any questions. At one point, you're like not even sure if he's still awake, but you like sort of like wave your hand in front of his face a little bit, and he's definitely still listening.
Sorry, I know I do that a lot. I just gotta make sure you're still there.
No, I'm listening. I'm not going to have you entirely recap the entire thing. We already just did that. But yeah, you tell him the story of what you saw outside the city, and he is enraptured the entire time. And while that's happening, we're gonna skip to somebody else. Let's see. Seuss, you said you were going to be returning to the lower portions of the city. Are you going to go back to the place where you found the ancient books and the old machines, or are you?
No, more just where he usually rested out at, where he hung out at.
Okay.
Nowhere too fancy, just like a little alcove probably. And
All right.
probably stop by like a shop or something on the way and get some upgraded armor.
And Seuss, it has been a long time since you had access to this much money.
Yeah, he doesn't really like it. He doesn't really see much of a need for money most of the time, but right now he knows he needs to use it.
Mm-hmm. Well, armor is something that can certainly be purchased, especially if it's non-magical. It's relatively easy to get access to. Well, there are lots of blacksmiths and people like that who will sell like fancy ornamental armors to nobles if they are looking to look fancy for a special occasion.
Mm-hmm.
But there are also, of course, people who are just make things for practical use by like bodyguards and the occasional team of, investigators or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's relatively easy to find. I'm just going to assume that you guys can all just like subtract the things from your own money. I'm going to trust you that you can just subtract your own money from your things. I'm not going to like check for that kind of thing. Potions of healing, I believe, our standard price is 50 gold. I believe, if I remember correctly, it might be 60.
Yep, it's 50.
And what armor are you looking for in particular, Seuss? Because are you looking for like plate armor? Oh, plate armor. Okay, then. Well, yeah, that is certainly something you can get to for yourself. And I believe actually you just got just enough money for that, if I remember correctly. Because if I remember correctly,
I will
plate
have
is 1,500.
I will have to trade up because I am a little bit short. Because I have 1406 at the moment, so I will just try and sell my splint armor and buy some plate armor.
All right, I'm going to say that is something relatively easy to do. And so the next time that your companions see you again, you are going to look very different with full plate armor. I imagine you'll put your cloak on top of Are you going to put your trusty cloak on top of the armor?
Yes, as much as I can. It probably won't hide very much of it, but it'll help a little bit. So it'll be much shinier.
And you can get a helmet if you want. Still continue to hide your face if you prefer.
Nah. I'll just stick with the plate armor.
All right then. After purchasing your thing, you return to your favorite alcove where you usually spend your nights. It's protected from the elements for the most part, and very few people come around here. It's sort of like an old collapsed part of a building that hasn't been taken up by the local, we'll call them homeless people, or drug addicts or anything like that. It hasn't been taken over by anybody yet. You sort of claimed the space for your own, and you've sort of made it into your own little space with candles that you can light for staying up at night, for the occasional late night that you have. But it's relatively simple, bedroll, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Seuss keeps his just about everything about Seuss keeps everything simple. Don't need a lot of fancy stuff.
Just enough to get by.
All right.
need to go much into detail of what I'm doing because I mean I'm just studying things, but we can always discuss what I figure
Right.
out later.
That is actually something that you are going to that I wanted to tell you. If you are taking your some things back with you to your laboratory, it's going to take a while for you to like analyze the composition of like the various body parts that you found out there. And while you have sort of your things going, like you have to boil certain parts of things to be able to determine their composition and separate things. You have to put some stuff in a centrifuge. Um, and you take the time while that stuff is happening to examine the book that you found. Actually, I think you might have given that to.
I gave that to Melira.
Okay, then cool. But you are able to examine the pieces of the creatures you found and things like that. Um, a lot of the stuff seems somewhat unremarkable, but there are some interesting things that you find. For example, the black ooze that came out of the ancient creature that was bent on destruction has. It seems like it's blood that's been preserved for a very, very long time, and it almost seems like it has not. It's been decaying significantly more slowly than would normally be expected of, like, body that's been left out there for so long. It's trademark symptoms of an undead creature, but it also is holding together a lot better than most undead creatures do. Normally, a zombie could not possibly have lived this long. It would eventually just decay of its, the natural course of, existence. But this seems like a zombie that is somehow being preserved by either the mist, or perhaps it was just a person that has been given like a sort of terrible immortality. It's difficult to determine exactly, but it definitely does seem to be alive in some way.
Probably not from just this, but do you feel that this might lead me to figuring out maybe like a way to preserve a live person's blood enough, like if they're dying of some kind of like poison or like disease or something, that maybe I could prolong their lives or like at least kind of put myself in this right direction of maybe
You think
figure
that
something like this
perhaps
out?
if you spend some more time studying this, that certainly could be possible. It is definitely going to be difficult. This is not like, this is basically unlocking the secret to immortality. That would be quite the venture, but it definitely is new and interesting. And you think with some more time and some more study, you might be able to figure out a little bit more about these creatures and figure out what it is exactly that is keeping them preserved for so long
Because
outside the walls.
because Emmy's goal is like not only does he want information just about the world and everything, but he anything he finds he wants to be able to incorporate in his medicine to help the city in any way possible.
Mhm. What is interesting? Another interesting thing: the bones from the shadow beasts that you found, entirely normal bones. Nothing weird about them at all. It seems like it was just a skeleton animated by something. Perhaps, I mean, the mist itself, perhaps, or a spirit that was using the mist as a part of itself to keep the creature going. Um, but the bones itself is just like it looks like it was once a large cat skeleton.
Okay. And there's no like remnants at all of like any of the magic that was used. Like it's probably pretty much gone by now.
Yeah, it seems like that particular creature was not. It was like some sort of spirit or uh, other ephemeral entity that was animating the bones, and the bones themselves were not an important part of the creature. These are just regular dead animal bones,
Okay.
which is also interesting in and of itself.
I mean, even if it doesn't have anything, I probably will keep it and add it to my various bone collections.
Right. At one point while you're studying, you have to use like one of the communal like things that you use in the study of like various substances. So you have to go into like a sort of public part of the laboratory, like not your own personal place. But yes, you have to go out into the public section of the laboratory, and you come across a couple of people who seem to be they're doing an autopsy on a dead person, and they see you like walking through the large open area of the laboratory, and it's a gnome and an elf, like the gnome standing up on a very high chair that they have set up next to the autopsy table, and the elf standing over there says, "Hold on a moment, is that Emmy? Emmy, you are back. It is good to see you." And you're like, I'm gonna have you roll an intelligence check to see if you can remember this person's name.
Okay.
Because like you've mentioned before, you're not interested at all in the other people here, so you're like, I've definitely met this person. Who is this?
I mean, I may or may not. It's an 11.
I'm gonna say yes. You can remember this. This guy is an elvish gentleman named Alphonse. He's got long, straight black hair. He is expert in anatomy of various creatures, and he seems to be teaching this new member of the guild, the gnome, about the inner workings of the human anatomy, because neither of them are humans. They know relatively little about like the way human intestines work. So they're both like poking around inside a human body and just like explaining the different body parts and how they'll work together and how they're different from elvish and gnomish anatomy.
I'm gonna be like, oh, hi, Alphonse, yes. Hi.
Emmy, we thought you were not coming back. We when we heard you were going outside the city walls, it was quite a shock. Well, it is good to see you then. Welcome back.
Good to be back. I'm glad I made it back alive too.
He introduces the person that he's with as Hurltig, the gnome, and he says, "This is a Hurltig." He struggles to say it with his accent, like, and the gnome has to correct him. He's like, it's Hurltig, yeah. He's like Hurltig. He's like, it's close enough. All right. But it is nice to meet you, Mr. Emmy. I am looking forward to working here in the guild. I would shake your hand, but we're both a little bit covered in blood at the moment, so I'll take a rain check on that.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like, it doesn't like look like he's disgusted, but he kind of puts his hand behind his back a little bit, like he's trying to get away from the blood.
But it is good to see you again. I will let the rest of the guild know that you are still alive and still kicking, and I'm sure later you will be telling us all about the things that you found outside the city.
Oh yes, I mean, I'm currently in the process of studying some of the things I found, but I will definitely get with you all back on that as soon as possible. In the back of his head, he's probably like, I don't. It might not happen.
Exactly. All right, and while that is happening, we are going to cut over to Rissa, who is returning to her home. And you walk in, you come out of the elevator and that leads into the common area of this floor of the tower. It's actually built very similarly to Melira's space, but Melira bought out the entire floor, whereas you have to go through a small common area to get to the place where your family lives. And when you come in through the front door, your father is waiting by the door, or perhaps not waiting, but he is the first person you see when you come in.
Oh, hello, Papa. I'm alive.
Hello, Rissa. It's good to see you. I would like to... He looks sort of like shocked, and he doesn't know like quite what to say, and he says, well, your mother will be happy to see that you're back. Here, I'll come. Let's go talk. When the two of you go into the kitchen and see your mother putting away dishes from the lunch or dinner or supper or whatever they just ate, he says, Ava, come, must let the servants take care of this kind of thing. In your condition, you shouldn't be up and doing this kind of work. And she says, oh, Clarence, hush now. I'm perfectly capable of doing this kind of thing myself. And as she says that, she drops a wine glass into the sink and it breaks. And she's like,
Did she get hurt?
no, she's you rush over to her and look at her, and she's totally fine. She just broke a wine glass in the sink. And she just braces her hands on the counter for a moment and just like sighs in exasperation. Terribly sorry, Rissa dear. Could you help me out with this?
Yes, of course. And she'll start picking up the pieces, and after looking at her mom's hand to make sure she doesn't need to cure anything.
And she moves out of the way to let you do that and sits down in one of the dining tables. The dining room chair next to the table. She just looks at you and says, "We missed you last night. We weren't expecting you to be gone so long."
I just made some new friends and needed to make sure that everybody got home safe. We just arrived back to town, but everybody's fine.
Well, that's good to hear. I hope you had a good time wherever it is you were doing, or at the very least where it was productive.
Productive is the right word, yes. It was very productive. I did get to meet Mr. Hawk. You remember him? You liked his singing.
Oh, yeah, you met Mr. Ethan Hawke?
Yes.
That is... wow, that is something. I always imagine he always looks so dashing and heroic in all of his plays. I always wonder if he's the same kind of way in person.
Oh yeah, he's totally great in person as well. That's a 26 on deception for that one.
She fully believes you. Or at least he seems to. Your father, you can see he looks like he's like struggling, like he like wants to yell at you, but he doesn't want to do it in front of your mother.
So I purposely stay in front of my mother. I go, it looks like Papa has some things he wants to say to me, but I just wanted to say hello before I went and had a lovely conversation with him and to tell you I was well. Your necklace kept me perfectly safe, Mama. And I kiss her on the forehead.
I'm very glad, dear. You have... I'm going to get back to cleaning these things, and once again your father's like, I'm telling you, just... You can have one of the servants do it. It's perfectly fine. That's what we pay them for. And she says, no, don't worry. I have got to keep myself busy somehow. I'm cooped up in this house all the time.
Can we have, like, a balcony?
Certainly, yeah. That would certainly be something that you could do.
I will whisper in your ear, like, could you go get me a flower? Maybe?
Sure thing. Happy to do it.
And that will get her out of the kitchen at least.
Mm-hmm. And that leaves you and your father alone for the moment. And you know that it takes her... She walks relatively slowly ever since she took ill. So you've got a minute or two. And immediately your father just looks at you and says, You cannot do this to us. After your brother, do you know what kind of stress that would put your mother under if we were to lose you as well?
I am doing this to help the city, Papa. It's more than just us. Why do you think I don't tell her what actually happens out there?
Well, at least you've got some sense. I've been trying to cover for you this last day, trying to make sure that she didn't worry about where you'd gone.
I've been gone overnight before.
Yes, of course, but it's different when I know that you're doing something absolutely insane that could get you killed and trying not to worry her. Why do I even bother? You never listen to me anyway. You're going to do what you want to do, and I know there's nothing I can do to stop you anyway, so I suppose we're just going to have to... He just doesn't even know how to finish the sentence.
I'm honestly surprised you give a shit. But it's fine. I'm going to find CJ, and I'm going to help the city, with or without your praise or thoughts or whatever fathers are supposed to give their children, and then your precious business will be fine.
Well, I wish you good luck in that. If you'll excuse me, I have some papers that I need to finish.
Mm-hmm.
Stay with your mother. Make sure she doesn't worry about you.
I'm only doing it because I want to, not because you told me to, and then I walk out to the balcony.
All right. And so everyone has their own private moments, resting, recuperating after that terrifying journey outside the city walls, while somehow trying to prepare yourselves to go back out once again. And you just know that you're going to find even more terrible things outside the city next time in Behold Clearlight. I couldn't help the name drop. But that's where we're going to end our session.
Yeah.
Boy, I can't wait.
You sure?
Good
You
stuff.
sure looked better when you were following the train, or when we were on the train. You might have found CJ.
On the train?
Is that a joke that I'm supposed to understand?
Probably not,
Yeah,
because
I'm thoroughly confused.
you've never played Grand Theft Auto. So.
Oh, God.
No.
Oh, it's that CJ.
Oh, got it.
All you had to do is follow the damn train, CJ.
Well, maybe that's why she didn't see him. He had trouble following the damn train.
Could be it. Could be it.
Thank you so much for checking out Behold Clearlight, our Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition actual play game. This world is brought to you by Ryan and played by a group of friends who are just looking to have fun and share our love for the tabletop world. Every other Thursday, we will release a new episode of Behold Clearlight. On the off weeks, Greg and I join other members of the TTRPG community and play non-D&D games. You can also check out Greg and I having random discussions on topics in the TTRPG and D&D world with guests on Mondays. If you enjoyed this, please don't hesitate to reach out on Twitter or on Facebook at Beholder to No One. Also, give us a review on iTunes or follow us on Podbean, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Keep being awesome. We'll see you next time. Bye.